Bags down, spikes on. Welcome to the track. Hi, my name is Colin Waitsman. I'm going to be your host for this episode of Track World News presented by Track Barn. And today we have a very special guest joining us, coming fresh off of a national championship win. He is also a U20 world record holder, the American collegiate record holder as well in the 800 meters. Brandon Miller of Texas A&M. Brandon, thanks for joining us today, man. Really appreciate it.
Hey, man, I really appreciate you. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Of course. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. And so first, as a media person in track, I have made many bad takes in my life, and I'm going to make many more in the future. And so with you here, I always make sure if I have somebody that I made a bad take on to apologize while I have you here. And in the beginning of the year, didn't have you as a top athlete this year. Not going to lie, didn't think you were going to do as great. And you have proved me to be extremely wrong. And I wanted to apologize while I have you here for doubting you early on this season. I was very wrong, and I'm glad to say that. So first, wanted to make sure I let you know that before we get started.
Hey, thank you, bro. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. And so want to start with some before we get into the fan questions, have some other things to get into. You're a big video game guy. I even saw on your story before this you're playing a little Super Smash Bros. What's the go-to video game? What's the thing right now that you're playing the most right nowadays?
Right now, since I'm not gonna lie, since Fortnite, took the building out, I'm just on there with my friends all the time. So right now, the go-to video game right now would be Fortnite.
I'm right there with you. The second that they took the building, I'm like, yo, it's bringing me back to the old school days when I could play it all the time. I'm right there.
Oh my goodness. It's exposing some people. I will say that. Some people, it's exposing some people.
Exactly. Some people thought they were, they were all that. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Learn the new skill. Also, you said you're just getting into cars nowadays. What's some stuff, maybe some cars you're like, you're the biggest fan of now?
Well, I started getting the cars just because I just got a Mustang, right? So I got the base model EcoBoost. It's nothing special, but I have a friend on the team named Connor who's really big into cars, and he has a Camaro. And, just like talking to him kind of grew my love for cars. So I would say my dream car right now, the car that I got my eye on, is probably the Shelby GT500 Mustang. It's the top of the top, over 700 horsepower, man. It's a beautiful looking car.
So you're a Mustang guy then?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There we go. Sounds good. Sounds good. And so now I got two questions for you. I guess you can say, I'm going to put you on the defensive here. You got to defend two of these things because I saw this. Well, one was in one of your YouTube videos. You're a YouTuber, and you said something that I was like, this is wild, and I need you to defend this. So this was you broke the world record, right? The vlog for the U20 world record for the 600. You were getting breakfast at Starbucks, and your order was 2 double smoked bacons with no bacon. Why are you getting a bacon, egg and cheese sandwich and then taking the bacon off? Just get something else, man. You gotta defend that. That's crazy.
I'm actually pescatarian. So I don't eat, bacon or meat other than fish. So I don't know. I just really love the sandwich. And when I take it off, I think it's really I think it comes in like this little croissant type thing. So I really love, maybe like the texture of it rather than the other sandwiches that come. But that's a funny question. I've never had that one before. But maybe just the texture of the meat, or not the meat, the eggs, the cheese, and the bread just goes so well together.
All right, good. Because when I heard that, I was like, man, what's this dude doing? It's in the name. It's in the name. What are you doing? Okay,
no, for real.
Makes sense.
That's hilarious.
Makes sense. And then one other thing. This is from one of your tweets. This is from August 7th, 2021. So you said, I'm saying this from a non-biased standpoint. A 4x8 in the Olympics would be dope. Now, you get a lot of people anti 4x8 or pro DMR. You got to stand on that soapbox. We'll give you 30 seconds. Defend why the 4x8 in the Olympics needs to be there.
Because I feel like, with the 4x4, you got, you can bring in 400 hurlers, you can bring 800 runners down, and you can bring, 200 runners up, right? I just think a 4x8 would give, the 1,500 meter runners a chance to come down, some 400 hurlers a chance to come up. And I just think like the competition, between the U.S., you got Great Britain in there. Of course, you have Kenya and these, all these other countries. I just feel like that would be a very, very good race to watch and a very good race to be a part of as well.
Got you. Well, if you had to replace one event that's currently in the Olympics with the 4x8, so you have to take one out.
Mixed relay.
Mixed relay.
Especially because now they're going to tell you the order in which you should, it's taking all the fun out of it. So I would say mixed relay.
Okay. Hey, I'm with you there. Hey, I like to change it up, see the 4x8, maybe do it like flip it around. We'll see how it goes. But all right, I'm with you there. All right, let's try it.
Or at least have it in the world championships,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big 4x8 person, but maybe that's just because I run 800. So
yeah, say, hey, I'm unbiased, man, does the 800. All right, we'll see about that unbiasedness.
Right.
So now we got a few fan questions. We'll start off with one that it's not necessarily a fan question, but when you see this name, ask something, you got to say it. This comes from Fred Curley. He just says USA champ. Let's hear what you got to say to that. Pretty self-explanatory, obviously.
Hey, that's the goal. I want to be the champion in trials. That's something I'm shooting for. And I even told him, because he was in Arizona when we was there last week for spring break, and he asked me, he was like, what can I expect of you what can I expect out of you during outdoors? And I said, USA champ. So hey, that's the goal. That's what I want to be.
There we go. Could you explain how that conversation's going with Fred? Because he's for many people outside that may not know him, you just watch him run, just stone cold, man of few words. He runs and then he tweets 42 and then he runs it and then he runs the 100. Yeah. He's a man of mystery in track and field. Could you kind of take a peek behind the curtain for all those people that may not have even had a conversation with him before?
Fred is actually hilarious. And it's kind of funny because we're kind of like the same guy. We're just so driven and so competitive. But he's just so hilarious. And just talking to him really inspires you because he expects the best out of himself. So in turn, you expect the best out of yourself as well.
There you go. That sounds about right. Yeah, he has confident goals, and you can hear that very well in a lot of your interviews and a lot of things you're talking about. Like, hey, want to be USA champ. And I'm sure we'll talk about that later on, but very, very awesome for sure. Next question we have, this is from Colin Kelly. He says, what was the hardest race that you have been in and why?
The hardest race I've been in. Ooh, I would say when I broke 150 for the first time. Hey, we're going all the way back to high school. But just breaking through any type of barrier, whether it be 210, 2 minutes, 150, 145, it hurts, you know what I mean? So breaking 150 for the first time definitely hurt a lot, but I was just blessed to receive the result that I did, and I was super happy. I was super stoked.
Yeah, I was a pole vaulter in college, and I did a 4x4 every once in a while. The coach always tells you got to do that. I still can't comprehend how people run sub 2 minutes. To be honest, I don't even get that. It's like 60. I'm like 60 seconds around the track. I do 60 seconds once, and I'm already huffing and puffing. I'm like, you do this again, and then 15 seconds faster? No, don't get it. Crazy. Next one for you. This is coming from Drew. He says, what are some mental tips that you may have for someone running the 800?
Some mental tips. That's a great question. I think the best thing I can say for somebody running the 800, and I know it may sound kind of cliche, but fall in love with the pain. You know what I mean? One thing that I learned is whether I run 149 in a race, 144 in a race, it's all going to hurt. It's all going to hurt. So why not put yourself out there? You know what I mean? Take a chance, put yourself out there, and don't be afraid to fail.
That's the hardest thing to like figure out when you're young and running. It's like if you're doing the 400, you're like, yo, I'll just take this easy. Be like, you'll take it easy and you're still going to be hurting. So why not just run fast and do it?
No, exactly. It's going to feel a whole lot better after the race if you give it your all rather than, leave something out there on the track.
Exactly. And then last fan question we got here. This comes from Gabe. He says, what would be your dream 4x4 of your favorite runners? And so we'll say we're going to take out your training group because obviously you don't want to have any bias. So who would, outside of, who you're with, this could be pros, it could be all-time runners, who would be like, yeah, I would love to be on a relay with this group.
Oh, me included or me?
Yeah, you're included. Yeah. So you and 3 other people.
Oh, that's a great question. First name that comes to mind is definitely Michael Norman. I feel like he's gonna be one of the greats. Wade Van Niekerk. I'm interested in seeing what David Rudisha would do on a 4x4 as well. So I guess those 3 would, in myself, I feel like we would put down a pretty good relay time.
That's not bad. Yes, definitely want to see that coming out. We'll get Radisha out of retirement here.
Right.
You can see it. Cool. So now want to flash back to where track started for you. So you've been running track for a while now. Pretty much your entire life. Could you kind of take us into what got started for you with running track?
Yeah. So I think my story about getting into track kind of reflects a lot of other people's story about how they got into their own sport. My parents introduced me to my sport. My mom just put me out there just because me and my brother were tearing up the house. And over time, it kind of grew on me. And then come middle school, I started to experience more and more success. And it's kind of something I just fell in love with along the way. So as I said before, my mom just put us out there. My dad just put us out there just because we was tearing up the house.
Yeah. What was it like growing up in a very athletic household? I mean, your brother, he's at Iowa State football guy, and I think dad at Mizzou for football as well. I mean, yourself, Texas. I mean, like, there's a lot of athleticism in that house, and it sounds like probably a lot of competitiveness as well. Like, what was that like growing up? As a little kid, having all of those, 1%ers like in your family right there.
Right. Yeah. It was great. When it came to making like big decisions about my sport, I was just blessed to have my mom and my dad there because I already went through it. You know what I mean? Now I will say my parents never forced me to, keep doing a sport. They did a great job of keeping me as a kid. And but it was very competitive. We would always play the game. Me, my dad, and my brother would always play the video game and talk trash while we was doing it. But I think it was, as I said before, just great just because when it came to, making a decision about college and things like that, my parents already went through the process themselves. So they could in turn help me make the best decision for myself.
Yeah. And like you said, like helping you stay a kid, which that can be really hard, especially when you've got, the cameras in your face at a young age. I mean, you had the prodigy thing going along when you were in high school. You got everybody, you're breaking club records, and people talking your name all throughout the sport at a young age. I mean, we had early on Tia Jones, who was going through a lot of similar things in the hurdles that you're going through. And so I was wondering how did your family and yourself navigate being in the limelight for our sport at such a young age?
Well, my parents always instilled in me this phrase that I, keep going by now is stay humble, stay hungry, and stay focused. You know what I mean? I realized that even though I had reached the limelight as a kid, I hadn't made it yet. You know what I mean? A lot of people have goals and aspirations. Mine's to be one of the greatest ever, if not the greatest ever. And a lot of successes can actually distract you from your goal. So my parents made sure I always stay humble, I always stay hungry, and I always stay focused because God can give us something, but he can also take it away. You know what I mean? And I guess we can get more into that, later in the podcast because I have a story about that. But they just did a great job of keeping me rooted and keeping me hungry to go achieve the next thing that I wanted to go in to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, you're creating these transitions for me. I don't even have to say it. You were saying how God can just take it away just as easily as he gives it to you. And so like you mentioned, you're going up really, really well throughout, youth, and then the club scene in high school. And then your junior year, I think, was one of your first setbacks, physically. And I'm sure there's probably some mental things going on for you as well. Could you kind of touch on what happened your junior year and how that might have affected you physically or mentally or anything like that?
Right. So I like to call my junior, my senior year, the waiting room portion of my career. So my junior year comes, I run 149 as a freshman, 149 as a sophomore. And my junior year comes and I'm stoked. I'm ready to go. And I want to make the U20 world team that year. I remember talking to all my friends about it. And I run in this dual meet. It's like a dual meet or, a tri meet or something like that in high school. And I run a 400. And I come back 20 minutes later and try to do the 200. And 50 meters into the 200, I popped my hamstring. So I tore my hamstring pretty bad. It was off the bone. So I ended up missing my whole junior season. Right. So I was out for like 3.5, 4 months, just going to physical therapy every single day. Right. Just really grinding it out. And in my coming back my senior season, I'm like, okay, this is my comeback year. I'm coming off from being hurt. I'm ready. Boom. COVID happens. Right. So in those two seasons, a lot of growth happened. You know what I mean? So not only as a runner, but as a man. So as I said before, as we both know, I was blessed to experience a lot of success as a kid. And when you experience that type of success, a sense of pride can set in, right? A sense of pride, a sense of, just, oh, it's my dog right here.
You had another dog appearance. Gotta love it.
Yeah, gotta love it. But a sense of pride sets in. And I like to call those 2 years the waiting room period in my career, just because I believe that God was shaping me into the man that could receive the blessings that he was trying to give me, if you get what I mean. So had to, refocus, stay humble, and it kind of put everything into perspective. As I said before, God can give it, but God can also take it away. You know what I mean? You could be on top of the world one day and complete bottom the next. And that's something I had to experience and something that I had to go through. But it's something I'm very thankful that I did go through, just because I'm a better individual, not just on the track, but off the track as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that when I've gone through, whether it be physical injuries or just, things just not going your way in life, whatever that might be, thinking of it like no great story doesn't have any adversity in it. Every story got conflict. And so when things are going really well, you got to prepare like, okay, this is going great, but am I ready for if things switch? Because things can switch at any moment. Like you said, God gives and takes away. So it's like, but how are you feeling? Like, obviously you're injured, but I'm sure, like you mentioned, you go from, the top of the top to those let's run threads can be really brutal, especially, as you're, one of those child prodigies. Like, what was it like mentally seeing, the same people that were praising you one week are the same people that are like, this guy's a bust the next week?
Right. Yeah. It can definitely put everything in a perspective of the real ones. You know what I mean? Like you take note of who was there when you didn't have anything. You know what I mean? So, just seeing those threads, it did take a toll on my confidence. I can't sit up here and lie to you. And I'm just going to be very vulnerable about everything just because I feel like I owe it to you guys. But it definitely took a toll on my confidence. You see those threads at 13, 14, 15 years old, and you see positive things, but the mind tends to focus on the negative things as well. You know what I mean? So it was just a matter of me having to step back and kind of just stop looking at all that stuff and go on a mission to be like, okay, I'm going to go prove myself right because I know I'm capable of everything that I say that I can do.
Mm-hmm. I know exactly what you're talking about. I can get 100 comments saying that was a great episode, that was a great post, that was a great. Then one person says, "I don't know, that was kind of trash," and it's like just focusing on that one person.
I'm saying, that's just how it works. But it's all good. You just got to remind yourself that at the end of the day, it's you're doing it for God. You have an audience of one. So,
and so like going through and having an injury at your junior year and then senior year, COVID happening, like those are two very pivotal years for recruiting in college. Right. And so if I'm you, I'm like, oh man, I'm nervous. Like I didn't get to prove myself here. Like my numbers are from before. I got an injury. Our coach is going to think I'm, what's going on? Like what was that recruiting process like for you till you got to where you are today with Texas A&M?
Right. Contrary to belief, my recruit process actually went pretty well. I was blessed to, talk to a lot of schools and, have a lot of schools come visit me and my parents and my brother and my sister, trying to get me to their school. But Texas A&M stood out, man. They did. Coach Mallard came and sat in my living room. I talked to Coach Henry, and I remember going on my official visit and seeing all the trophies in Coach Henry's office. And I was like, man, they expect excellence here. And, that's something I want to surround myself with. So Texas A&M, really spoke to me. And it was something that I wanted to be a part of. You see the guys like Donovan Brady, you see the Devin Dixons, the Carlton Oranges, the Hector Hernandez. And it's just, you want to be a part of the legacy, and you see excellence. And it's like, okay, I want to be there. I want to be a part of something bigger than myself.
Mm-hmm. And so I remember very vividly my first practices with when I was going to college, and I'm like, all right, the work, that was a great workout. Like, no, that was just the warm up. Like, so did you ever have a welcome to college type moment, whether it was in a workout or in a meet or anything like that, where you're like, oh yeah, this ain't high school anymore. This is the real deal.
Oh yes. I think everybody has one of those moments. We had a workout pretty early in the year. It was 600s, and we had 2 minutes rest in between. And some of the guys were feeling really good that day, and I wasn't. And it was one of those things where I kind of just got my butt kicked, and I remember throwing up all over the new track at Texas A&M. And that was definitely my welcome to college moment. I was like, okay, yeah, this is real. This is for real.
Yeah, because it's like, oh yeah, so I'm not leading the pack with these workouts about 3 meters now. Like there's people, right there with me.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And so I'm also interested. So you were this previous year teammate, friend, Athing Mu wins the Bowerman, and you were there also, be able to support and go on. I'm interested, could you tell us about what that was like? Being able to see close friend of yours, like, okay, you just won, the Heisman of our sport. Right. And how did that fuel your fire to be like, I want to be in that position next year?
Oh man, it fueled my fire a lot. Athing inspires me in ways that she cannot understand. You know what I mean? You go out, and she inspires all of us. You go out and you see the work that she puts in every day, and then the things that she achieves as well. So just being able to go to the Bowerman and experience it for myself, it made me want to experience it for myself, if you get what I mean. It was for her, but I was like, I want that next year. You know what I mean? So coming back in town, it was like, okay, let's get to work, because I really want to be in the same exact position that she was a year before.
Yeah. And it's like, man, that's hard. It's like, you got to be one of one. Like there's so many great athletes, especially in the NCAA. And it's like, okay, if I want that to be me, like I can't, we can't have missteps. We need to be, on our game each workout. Like was there anything that you changed, whether it be, on the track stuff or off the track stuff, to be like, okay, I want to be great. I want to get everything out of this season, as possible.
I think there's a lot you have to sacrifice if you want to be, great. You know what I mean? So especially in college. So, it's a big jump from high school to college. I feel like people don't quite understand how different it is going from high school to college, right? In high school, you can pretty much do anything you want and still win the race. But in college, it's a whole new ballgame. Everybody's talented. So therefore, if you want to set yourself apart, you're going to have to make necessary sacrifices, whether it be like, no, I'm not going to go out with my friends this week. I got to, stay in and get my sleep. Or a big thing, I think, is your diet, what you put in your body. You know what I mean? So my diet, was really, really on point. And again, I just had to make sacrifices, whether that not have been like, all right, I'm not going to go out with my friends this week just because I'm locked in. I don't want to, mess anything up or anything like that. So just sacrifices in all aspects of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like if you want to get what you want, you have to, do the necessary things. Like you can't just, go out and do it. Do you want the short-term goal, the short-term gains and the long-term gains? Like, to get those long-term goals, like you're going to have to sacrifice some of those short-term things. Like pizza's good. I know it. Everybody like you're going to have to maybe cut out a few slices if you want to win a national championship or something,
100%, my man. Just one thing that I learned going through, this whole process and, throughout my career is greatness. It's not this esoteric thing that only some of us can achieve. Everybody's capable of greatness. You know what I mean? So I think it's little steps every single day. And a lot of people ask me about, well, Brandon, how does your motivation stay? And I honestly think that motivation is overrated. You know what I mean? Motivation is going to, get you going and then it's going to run out. I believe the most important thing is discipline. You know what I mean? If you want to be great, all the greats have discipline. It's doing the things that you want to do, even when you don't want to do it. Even the greats have those days. Even I have those days where I don't want to do this, but I know I have to do it in order to achieve the things that I want to achieve. So greatness is really just getting after it every single day, creating these small victories and building that confidence. So when you get in front of the big lights, the limelights and things like that, you're ready to go.
Oh, you couldn't have said it better, man. Cause it's like, you'll watch, like you can watch the YouTube videos of the, like, how bad do you want it? Like if you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, like that's great for 15 minutes and 35 seconds.
For real,
fantastic. Bro. You're on cloud nine. You want to be president of the United States after that. and then half an hour later, you're back to doing the exact same thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's like, you got to have discipline on, okay, like if these are my goals, this is what I want to do. And this is what I want to achieve. Like there's certain things that you have to do and certain things that you can't do if you want to reach those goals. And so it's a long-term thing. So it's a marathon, not a sprint, even if your goal is a sprint.
Exactly. 100%. You couldn't have said it better.
There you go. And so now I want to go back. We talked about it a little bit with your double bacon, no bacon, but that day you were going into the you eventually a U20 world record in the 600 meter. Can you tell us what that was like? Break down that, like, oh man, like I'm one of the best to ever do this thing under 20. So could you break that race down for us?
Yeah, that was insane. I was actually going for 114. So I get out, I feel like I hit my splits well, and I finished and I dip at the line and I'm just like, oh, I didn't get 114. And then as I'm walking off the track, my coach is like, that's a U20 record. And I'm like, wait, really? He goes, yeah, it is. Congrats. I'm like, that's insane. That is insane. So, I was just very grateful and I'm very blessed to be able to achieve something like that. And it really goes into like the things like if you strive for excellence, if you strive for perfection, you're going to fall on excellence. You know what I mean? So just to be able to experience something like that, have my name in the record books for a little bit, it's just something I'm very proud of. I'm just very blessed.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I didn't even notice. It's like, hey, you're running. You were upset.
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, that's crazy. That's
funny. And so, so looking just recently, obviously you got your national championship. But before we talk about that race that you ended up winning, I'm interested in how your previous year kind of impacted that. So that time last year, you didn't qualify for it. Then in outdoors, you got second place. And then I'm interested in how did those two performances impact how you performed at nationals this year to make sure, that wouldn't happen again?
Right. So I remember sitting after all the scratches happened from the 800. I remember I was sitting number 17 in the nation. As we know, top 16 go. And I remember sitting in the stands at nationals because I was there for the 4x4 alternate as well. I didn't even get to run the nationals last year. I was like, this has never happened again. That feeling I was feeling was just a feeling of just pain and disgust. I was like, this will never happen again. And it was necessary. I go into outdoor season and I go to the dual meet between us and Texas. And it's me and Devin Dixon and Caden Norris, and we race these Texas runners. And they get 1-2. Me and Devin Dixon get third and fourth. And it was probably one of the most sloppiest races I've ever ran. I think we ended up running 150. And it was Devin's outdoor debut. So I'm like, okay, he's going to take us through at 50 point like he always does. And I kind of put myself into a box. I didn't even give myself a chance to go out there and do what I wanted to do because I was relying on Devin to do the work for me. So after the race, we upset. And then Coach Pat Henry comes up to me and he goes, you could be the best half miler we have, but you can't be afraid to fail. And ever since then, it was just like, it clicked. You know what I mean? I go out next week, run 148. Next week, run 147. SECs go 146, 145. 145 at West Regionals, and then Nationals comes, and I hit 144. I was very grateful to hit the time, but as a competitor, we always want to win. You know what I mean? So big upside to Andrew Witt on that race last year. Man, he ran a crazy race. But it was bittersweet, you know what I mean? And it made me hungry. And going into trials, I think trials was the defining point. I think it's going to be the defining point of my career, in all honesty, because I get through prelims and then semis comes, and I'm going to heat with Donovan Brazier and Clayton Murphy. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And I ended up getting knocked out. But it came to a point where it's like, even though I got knocked out and I'm upset, I know I can run with these guys. So it was just a mindset switch from there to like, I'm coming for it all this upcoming year, and this is my year. You know what I mean? I'm the one. And it just, that mindset change really affects the way I run now. You know what I mean? So I think that the big defining moment of last year was definitely trials. That failure at trials really catapulted me into the season I'm having this year.
Yeah, I mean, what did J. Cole say? Like, your idols become your rivals. Like,
yeah.
Going to watching them on TV in 2016 to I'm lining up with you now. It's like, goodness. What do I belong here? It's like, oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotta be crazy feeling. And then take that into how that helped you, this year. Like, could you break us down this national championship race for you? Obviously, really, really, really close between you, Texas Tech as well. Like, break that down. You ended up winning, and how that felt to say, yeah, I'm a national champion here.
It felt amazing. My biggest thing to going into that race was win. You know what I mean? I don't care what the time is. I just want to win. So when we got on 52, I was like, okay, this is more of a tactical type of race. So I just put myself in position that third 200 to be able to come home that fourth 200. And when I crossed the line, I kind of threw my arms up like, I did it. You know what I mean? So I was very happy with the performance and all things like that. And then it wasn't too long lived because I had to come back and do the 4x4. But then we ended up winning that. So it was just, I was blessed to have 2 national championships. But yeah, those guys were great competitors. Jonathan Jones just started out with the 800, and then Moad, he's gifted as well. So just to be able to, come in first in that type of race was a blessing to me.
Yeah, it was definitely exciting to watch for sure. And like, man, to be like, oh yeah, I just won. Be like, man, I got to get ready for this dang 4x4. Like,
yeah, it's insane.
For sure. And then so now looking forward to you mentioned several times like, hey, I'm my goal, want to be a USA champion. So for that, like you mentioned, there's a lot of big names that are going to be competing in US for the championship, and a lot of names that, like you mentioned, Clayton Murphy, he was running back, what were you, middle school or high school then?
Yeah.
So
like that.
Been a pro for a long time. Like, what's the, I don't know, any nerves? What's the feeling, going into being like, no, I'm going to be the best here in the US, and then hopefully, the best that the world has to offer then in 2022 at the World Championship.
Yeah, I think I was reading this book, and it kind of, I was reading and I came across a quote that I kind of live by now when it comes to big performances that I have to put out. It's, don't rob God of any of the glory that he deserves. So my biggest thing is like when I'm going out there against those guys, yeah, they're great, but my God is greater. You know what I mean? So it's a matter of putting everything into perspective. You know what I mean? They belong, but I belong. I feel like I'm the one. You know what I mean? You know, I feel like to be successful, you have to have that type of mindset, because if you don't, people are going to run right all over you. They're going to run all over you. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm that young boxer coming up through the ranks. You know, I'm only 20. I just turned 20 like a month ago. So, but I'm ready. I'm ready to come for it all, man. And I'm done waiting my turn. I'm done. I'm done with that narrative of, wait your turn. Nah, I'm coming for it all.
Yeah, it's like, no, my turn is now. Like I've paid my dues, I've done my stuff. Like this is what it's gonna be. And it's and it's something to say when not only are you running for yourself and running for your family and your friends, but you got a greater purpose than that as well. Like saying it's like, look, like this isn't me doing this. Like I'm doing what I was gifted to do, what I'm allowed to do. And so it's like it's greater than me. It's it's so much more, which is I think a huge impact and helpful for the training and then the actual race, itself.
Yeah, man, as you said it, I feel like I kind of view myself as an underdog, last year, and even, in some aspects this year. But, you can't stay an underdog forever. You know what I mean? An underdog, at some point, you got to get tired of being overlooked and undervalued. You know what I mean? And when you get tired, that's just the point. That's where you turn it on. That's where you come strong. So I'm rising to the ranks. And as I said before, I'm coming for number one.
Let's go. That's the confidence you need. You can definitely hear that Fred Curly type of stuff, because you said the same thing. So, and then last question for you. We mentioned it before with, Athing Mu. Like you've said, she's inspired you a lot, more than, she probably even knows. Like, could you kind of share with us how seeing what she's doing at the professional level and, at the Olympic level? I mean, I remember the tweet of, you said 155. That's it. And so obviously she's doing some incredible things. Just say what it's like having those people that are so talented and hardworking around you to being a good support system. So it's clearly, it's not just you. There's so many people that are around trying to achieve the same goals, like what it's like having that support system with you.
Right. I think it's all in, who you surround yourself with. I think I always try to surround myself with people who are doing what I want to do or more. You know what I mean? So I don't think people really understand, what things all smiles, but that girl's a dog. You know what I mean? That girl's a dog, and she's about her business. So I kind of knew that she was in position, make the Olympic team and even win the Olympics. But when it actually happened, when it actually was happening, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing, because she worked for everything and she deserves everything that came to her, and everything that's coming to her, she's going to deserve that as well. So just seeing the type of work that she put in and the type of attitude she has towards training, and just, training off the track as well, how well she takes care of her body and things like that. It's just, things I, picked up on and things I implemented to my game as well. So just seeing her do all of these things is just amazing, because she's amazing track runner, but she's more importantly, she's an amazing individual as well.
Yeah, she's from Jersey. You can't be soft and like that from Jersey. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. But Brandon, thank you so much for taking the time here today. Really appreciate you, sitting, sharing your story with us and all the fans. Where can people go if they wanted to learn more about you on social media or anything like that?
Yeah. So my Instagram is B Miller Track Star. That was my first ever Instagram name. I've never changed it. My Twitter's B Mills Track Star, BMILLS Track Star. And then I have a YouTube. I'm kind of lacking on the videos right now, but we're working on it. So just type in Brandon Miller to YouTube and I should pop up. But again, man, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
For sure. It's been an awesome conversation. Super glad to have you. And thank you, Brandon. And thank you to everyone who's listening. This has been another episode of Track World News. If you want more content, go follow us over on Instagram. We post daily over there. You can get a whole bunch of new highlights, clips, whole bunch of stuff over there. That's going to be it for us. Have a good one. Peace.